There are moments that try the human soul so violently and so perplexing that if the truth were told, all of us have had moments that we wanted to throw up our hands and walk away. Particularly painful is discouragement in the life of the believer, because as we travel from season to season, it is not just the perils that we face, but it is seeing the wicked go forward while the righteous are held back. Discouragement can creep in secretly, hide behind clothes, makeup, hairdos. Discouragement is so bold that it will even hide behind a smile. It will always ride to work with you. And if it doesn't catch a ride going to work, it'll catch a ride on the way back home. Discouragement will go into a tent. It will walk right into a Section 8 neighborhood. But don't think that it stops. Discouragement will walk right into a middle-class house. It won't just stop there. It'll go in a mansion and sit on the side of a jacuzzi and tell you life is not worth living. If you listen at discouragement, it will cause you to make bad decisions. It will cause you to think that life is not worth living. And secretly, behind the facade of a smile and a good morning and a praise the Lord and a how are you, you will wonder if you're ever going to get out of what you're into.
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life. And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality, that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. But during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is. Anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid, they have happy relationships, the children are acting normal, business is successful. Anybody can be positive then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. See, but the real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. Adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman. How you handle it, that's where the growth takes place.
The biggest poison in us is regret.
Bad decisions, hasty decisions, too fast, and affects the next 20 years of your life because you made the wrong decision. What makes us make these fast decisions? Fear?
Let the fear of regret fuel you to take action today, now.
Hurt people will go above and beyond to hurt people. Insecure people will go out of their way to create insecurities. Dysfunctional people will take a peaceful, happy, and beautiful situation and figure out a way to create dysfunction where there is none.
What we should do when somebody does us wrong, forgive them and let it drop. Leave it and let it go.
Be the best. Lifelong personal development requires tremendous dedication, discipline, and willpower. It is often the case that we know what we need to do, but we lack the courage to take the risks. Instead, we make excuses for inaction.
When people can walk away from you, let them walk. When people can walk away from you, let them walk.
The great thing about excuses is that no matter what happens, excuses are always there waiting to be used. But the downside of excuses is that nobody really believes them. If you make excuses, they're going to know it and they're going to think less of you. But if you refuse to rely on excuses, people are going to know that too, and they'll admire you for it.
Maybe somebody's talking about you, trying to make you look bad. You could easily be upset, offended, try to pay them back. Why don't you try a different approach? Drop it, leave it, and let it go.
You need large amounts of self-discipline to deal courageously with all the fear-inducing events of your life. Courage is rightly considered the foremost of the virtues, for upon it all others depend. Often, fear is necessary to preserve life, prevent injury, and guard against financial mistakes.
I don't want you to try to talk another person into staying with you, loving you, calling you, caring about you, coming to see you, staying attached to you. I mean, hang up the phone. When people can walk away from you, let them walk.
If you ask people what they regret, especially as they get older, what they generally report is things not done. So they don't regret so much mistakes they've made, although of course people obviously regret mistakes they've made as well. So they don't exactly regret sins of commission, right? Errors that they've actively made. They torment themselves for opportunities that had presented themselves that they did not, let's say, exploit or engage in.
The regret we feel for things that we've done, though intense, only lasts a short period of time. But the regret that we feel for things that we missed out on, that can extend throughout a lifetime. Because most of us are scared, and we choose to lead an easy life. And by doing so, we start to rack up those regrets. But there is a solution. You have to be willing to be bold.
You have a great life in front of you, but your great life is in front of you. It's not behind you. What you did back there ain't got nothing to do with what God got for you. What you did back there was learn the lessons to get you to where you are at this particular moment right here.
Bad decisions, hasty decisions, too fast, and affects the next 20 years of your life because you made the wrong decision. If you'd have just waited, got all your information together, settled yourself, you'd have been better. What makes us make these fast decisions? Fear?
It takes discipline to face your fears so you can conquer them. And that's what discipline is. Discipline means taking the hard road, the uphill road, to do what's right. And regret, in and of itself, it's worthless. So learn and move on.
The ability to learn to say no and not to feel guilty about it, to me, is about the greatest success I have achieved. It's all a part of a process for growing for me. To me, to have the kind of internal strength and internal courage it takes to say, no, I will not let you treat me this way, is what success is all about. I will not be treated this way. I demand only the best for myself.
As you might imagine, I don't think we should spend a lot of time regretting the choices we've made in the past. To spend time brooding over how things went, that's an illusion. What you're doing is suffering pointlessly in the present under the shadow of certain memories. You're telling yourself a story about something that might have been over and over again. How long do you want to do that for?
And sometimes life is going to knock you down. But because you have been knocked down don't mean that you are finished. No. You got some reasons. It might be your own sense of pride and determination in the kind of life that you want to create.
There are people in their 30s and 40s who are still acting like adolescents. And there are even people in their 40s and 50s who are still acting like babies as far as their attitude toward responsibility is concerned. But the large number of people who shirk responsibility can also provide opportunities for you if you are determined to be different. If you decide to be one of the few who embraces responsibility, you can lead, and you will deserve to lead. Churchill said responsibility is the price of greatness. And in my opinion, it's really a rather small price to pay. It means, first of all, that you accept the consequences of your actions. Responsibility means you look to yourself as the source of everything that happens to you. It means that you assume command, regardless of the hardships you may have undergone early in life, or the dozens of people who may have failed to understand you. I'm saying that regardless of the presence of those negative influences in your life, the best thing you can do, the strongest thing, the most empowering thing, and ultimately the wisest thing, is to accept responsibility for your own destiny, plain and simple.
To
if you have enough reasons, you can do the most incredible things. Here's what you might be lacking: a long enough list of reasons. Reasons that drive you, reasons that get you up a little extra early, reasons that keep you up a little extra late. That's what makes the difference.
You should always make decisions with your heart and soul. You can use your brain for math, but when it comes to the actual feel of the decision, you always want to go inward and check it against your heart and soul. Here's the simple test. Does the decision that you're about to make expand you, expand your future, or expand the possibilities of your life? If the answer is yes, then the decision is yes, no matter how terrifying it is.
Other than death, all failure is psychological. Other than death, all failure is psychological. Does not mean that you won't lose some battles, because you will. We all will. But it does mean that as long as you don't surrender, as long as you don't quit, then you haven't failed.
Here are some action exercises that you can do. Make a decision today to invest in yourself and getting better, as if your future depends on it, because it does. Identify the most important skills you have that determine the quality and quantity of results you get at your work, and make a plan to get better in each one. Set excellent performance in your work as a goal, and then determine exactly what you will need to do every day to join the top 20% or better in your field.
I fought a good fight. I fought for my kids, and I fought for what was right, and I fought for my good health, and I fought for a good career that would bless my family. I fought a good fight. The encroachment. Opposites are in conflict, and we're in the middle. And if you want something valuable, you got to fight for it.
You have comeback power when something happens to you. Don't buy into what has happened to you. Buy into, I'm getting up out of here. I'm going to change this situation. This does not work for me, and I don't have the luxury of being depressed. I need to clear my head.
Yes, we can see avoidance of responsibility all the time in both our personal and professional lives. We can see that most people aren't as successful as they wish they were. Do you see there's a connection between these two very common phenomena? I hope you'll understand that it's in your best interests to take responsibility for everything you do. But that's only the beginning. I'm also going to suggest that many times it's even best to accept responsibility for the mistakes of others, especially when you're in a managerial or leadership role.
What do you do when you tried and failed and you want to quit and you want to give up? Sometimes you can be blessed and be unhappy, because even though things are going right, they're not going according to what you had believed and expected, and you know that something is missing out of your life.
You got to clear your head so that the decision that you make represents the best in you. Be still and know that you're going to get through this. You're going to get through this. You got to assure yourself. You have to encourage yourself. You have to clear your mind.
The great thing about excuses, and the really dangerous thing about them, is that no matter what happens, excuses are always there waiting to be used. But the downside of excuses, even good ones, is that nobody really believes them. If you make excuses, they're going to know it, and they're going to think less of you. But if you refuse to rely on excuses, people are going to know that too, and they'll admire you for it. This is especially true in business. One of the classic examples happened about 15 years ago. A widely advertised healthcare product from a leading manufacturer was shown to be unsafe, and the company responded by pulling every single box off the shelves at a cost of millions of dollars. Was the company destroyed? Hardly. If they had done anything else, there would have been a tremendous loss of confidence. Instead, there was honest acceptance of responsibility for a mistake. Contrast this with what happened recently to a leading manufacturer of computer chips. When a new microprocessor didn't perform up to expectations, the company made excuses. It was a minor problem. something that would crop up once in a lifetime, and so forth. Were these excuses valid? Maybe, maybe not. But it doesn't really matter, does it? So many people use excuses, but nobody really buys them.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Your story doesn't end in the night. The night is temporary. Don't get discouraged. It's just a night season. It's not permanent. It's not how your story ends. You may not see anything happening. Keep moving forward in faith. Keep believing. It's just a matter of time before the morning breaks forth.
That accepting responsibility is one of the highest forms of human maturity. To put yourself on the line, a willingness to be accountable, is really the defining characteristic of adulthood. Anyone who has raised children knows how true this is. Just look at a baby during the first few years of life. Every facial expression, every tentative word has one message for the baby's parents. I am totally dependent on you. I can't be held responsible for the consequences. I can't do anything for myself even if I try. After all, I'm just a baby. 10 or 12 years later, of course, as the boy or girl enters adolescence, this message to the parents will be very different. It will sound something like this: I want to be totally independent. Why don't you just leave me alone? I don't want to do anything but think about myself. I certainly don't want to accept any responsibility. It's only when we're at last grown up that the first two messages, I'm totally independent of you and I'm totally dependent on you, finally turn into you can depend on me, which is the truly adult outlook.
The night seasons are not the end. The bad breaks, the disappointments, that's simply another step on the way to your destiny.
But let me tell you what ought to cause great joy to come to your life is if you'd stop comparing yourself to other people and you would just remember where you came from and remember where you started. You're doing more. You're seeing more. You're achieving more. But if you start comparing yourself with someone else, you can get discouraged because they're doing more maybe than you're doing.
Sooner or later, all of us face situations in which we must decide whether to accept responsibility for a problem or look for ways to avoid responsibility. Let's look at the various options and decisions that are now open to you. First, there's the role played by intention. In other words, was the outcome of your action what you intended it to be? And if it was not, should you still accept responsibility for that outcome? This is a very serious issue in the way we think about responsibility. In many areas of criminal law, for instance, the intention to commit a crime must be present in order for the accused to be held criminally responsible. This intention is something quite different from mere negligence. But we don't have to enter a courtroom to see the important role intention plays in accepting responsibility ourselves or assigning it to others. Don't you remember when you were a kid and you left the screen door open so that the cat ran outside and was lost all afternoon? What did you say to avoid responsibility? You said, it was an accident. You said, I didn't mean to do that. As I pointed out earlier, there are lots of people who still use these childlike rationalizations well into their middle age. But if and when you decide you want to be an adult, you begin to see the whole question of intention as nothing more than another opportunity for excuse making, and you should refuse to participate in it.
If you get beat, unless you're dead, you are not defeated, and you have not
Credit
failed.
goes to
What
our
you've done is
awesome
you've
patrons who
learned.
make
You've gained
videos like this one
experience,
possible.
and you're still
Consider
alive.
joining them
So
to
get
support
up
our
and
work.
go get after it.
You can also support us by subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell button to get notified when our new videos are released. And as always, thank you for watching.
When you start anything, the first step, you're excited. And then you take another step and another step. The enthusiasm from the beginning starts to fade out.
Your future is in your hands. You know what that means? You got to work on your mind. Fortify yourself. You got to upgrade, level up your skill set. You want to be in a community of collaborative, supportive relationships that's going in your direction. And anybody that don't have the mindset that you have, let them go.
You lost sight of the long-term goal, and it faded. It faded from memory, and the passion dried up, so we stopped the daily tasks that will allow us to achieve our goals. And you began to rationalize. Maybe I can't. Maybe I don't really want to. Maybe this goal isn't for me. And so you give up. You let it go. No. Don't do that.
If you understand completely what I'm going to tell you from this moment on, your life will never be the same again. The things you want just seem to fall in line. And from now on, you won't have the problems, the worries, the gnawing lump of anxiety that perhaps you've experienced before. They'll be things of the past. Here's the key to success. We become what we think about.
When you go to sleep at night, how are you going to feel about your day? All depends on who you decide to include in your day. You got 24 hours in a day. Stop running around acting as if you don't have a choice. You do have a choice.
Don't let neglect destroy your days, destroy your life, and destroy your future. Go back and do what you can. And if you'll do what you can, then life will give you some extraordinary things to do. You got to take care of the small disciplines before life will give you a chance to handle the more complicated disciplines.
You've got to control the beginning and the end of your day with your thinking. And so one of the first things you need to do when you wake up is to take a 5-minute window and you visually see your goals and dreams. Picture them as videos in your mind. Picture them as you possessing them and see them written down on a sheet of paper. This will begin to control your mind for the day.
I want that long-term goal to be so embedded in my mind that I never lose sight of it. Ever. Then the little tasks and projects and short-term goals that you tackle need to lead towards strategic victory, winning the long war.
Start working a plan to get there and minimizing everything else. Getting very clear on the mission. Very clear on the mission. And working the plan. Everything else, guess what it gets? A no. When you do things, do them intentional. Do the things that are going to move you forward.
Every day, do something that moves you toward that goal, that keeps that goal alive and in sight and in focus. However small or insignificant that step might seem, take it, do it, make it happen, because that goal isn't going to achieve itself.
Waking up early, working out every day, if you start with those two kind of cornerstones, and then the other thing is, figure out what you're going to do during the day. Don't go to bed without a plan of how you're going to handle the next day.
To go forward or to go back. You're going to always have that decision. I made all of my dreams bigger than my fears. So when I felt like quitting, the results would have been devastating to the goal I was trying to attain. My motivation was, I was just exhausted from poverty.
See, whatever you're worried about, if someone called you right now and say, listen, you got 2 days to live, I'm telling you, you won't be worried about your bills, ladies and gentlemen. Look at your life right now. If you want to keep on getting what you're getting, keep on doing what you're doing. You've got to be willing to change your ways.
You do have a choice. You love rumors, you love issues, you love problems, you love people calling you with their problems. You love it. That's why at the end of every night you are drained, because you are submerged yourself in dysfunctional things, people, and situations.
I have a schedule and I execute the schedule. Parts of my day are very structured. Parts of my day are very disciplined, which gives me freedom in other parts of the day.
I was sick of living in my car. I've been living in my car for 3 years. I was sick of not having money. And so for me to quit, and see, that's what people do. People quit when it's at their hardest moment. But if it's at your hardest moment, why would you quit? I mean, think about it. If you're going through hell, why stop there? Move, keep going.
Your life is working. If you don't like what you have produced, you're a director, you are the star, you wrote this script. If you want to begin to make your stuff happen for you, I think that it's very important that you start trusting yourself. Listen to yourself. Don't try and make everything logical. There are some things about life that defies logic, that you just can't explain how the outcome is going to be.
And then at the very end of the day, what I do, one of the last things I do after my prayer is I read through my goals and my dreams. I picture them. When I get my sleep, it's going to work on revealing to me. It's playing back the video, believe it or not, of my day in my mind, and it helps me wake up ready to get them as well.
They have the magic touch. You've heard them say that about someone. Everything he touches turns to gold. And have you ever noticed that a man who becomes successful tends to continue to become successful? It's because of goals. Some of us have them, some don't. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going.
And you are here this week to learn vital information about creating a future and be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past.
Why? We conform. And the trouble is that we're acting like the wrong percentage group, the 95% who don't succeed. These people believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by things that happen to them, by exterior forces. They're outer-directed people.
A habit is something you do without giving it any conscious thought. And you know that most people live by habit. They don't think. The late and great Dr. McFarland from down in Kentucky said 2% of the people think, 3% of the people think they think, and he said 95% of the people would rather die than think.
The wonderful thing is this: if you do what other successful people do, you eventually get the same result that they do. Most people are broke up into their 40s and 50s. So if you're broke today, you're just one of the gang. The only question is, do you stay there? And the answer is no.
If you are not defined by some vision that is bigger than you, and you are not passionate about that vision, then you're left with the old hardware of the past in your brain, and you will be predictable in your life.
Now, when I started off in this many years ago, I came from very poor beginnings. I dropped out of high school. I could only get laboring jobs. I was told, by the way, if you don't get a good education, you won't do well in life. And I believed that for a long time until I found there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people who dropped out of high school who went on to become millionaires and billionaires as well.
A survey was made one time that covered a lot of men, working men, and these men were asked this question: why do you get up in the morning? 19 out of 20 had no idea. If you ask them, they'll say, everyone goes to work in the morning. And that's the reason they do it.
Learning is the beginning of life change. Some people want to start with motivation. You don't start with motivation. You can tell we don't spend that much time on motivation. And we're here, enough motivation, certainly. But here's the best motivation we've got going. When we bring our dedication and let it show, we let the work of our hands show. That's the motivation we want.
You've got to learn how to walk by faith and not by sight. That once you begin to trust yourself, life takes on a whole new meaning, because now I want you to do that feeling that you are led.
When we think a new thought, literally opens a space up in our minds, in our lives, that never existed before prior to having that thought. And what happens is your unconscious and subconscious mind goes to work on filling in that space with the people, places, resources, and things to fill up that space and fully furnish it. That's the power of how we think.
you are thinking in the past. And so most people then spend the majority of their life talking about why they never arrive at their vision of the future because of some past experience.
You can exercise them, and you can literally create the start of anything because you are creative. The only thing about a man that is a man is his mind. Everything else you can find in a pig or a horse.
At some point, we all bought into this lie that you've got to feel ready in order to change. At some point, you're going to have the courage. At some point, you're going to have the confidence. And it's complete garbage. And so there are so many people in the world, and you know, you may be watching this right now, and you have these incredible ideas, and what you think is missing is motivation. And that's not true.
We say that success is not an accident. Failure is not an accident. So if you just follow the tracks of other successful people, no matter where you're starting from, you eventually get to the same place that they get. The two most important things we need to have to be happy and healthy is a sense of control, things are happening for a reason, and a sense of coherence, a feeling that things fit together.
Just get stronger. Get better. We've all got those personal winters. I'm asking all of you to get better in spite of the winters, in spite of the downturn. The money downturn, the social downturn, the personal downturn, whatever it is. The key is not to wish for a better winter. The key is to wish for more strength, more wisdom, more courage, get better, get wiser, get stronger.
Some of you are having problems with battles of things you're trying to change and you can't change them. Old habits that you were keeping for the last 20 years and now you want to change and it's tough to change. If you keep watching pornography, you keep reading dirty books. Now the first time you see it, it doesn't bother you. But if you keep seeing it, it becomes downloaded.
When an idea comes into your mind, you want to ask yourself this question. Don't ask whether it's wrong or whether it's right. That's not the question. You know what the question is? Will that idea take me from where I am and move me in the direction of the star that I'm shooting at?
You're never going to feel like it. Motivation's garbage. You only feel motivated to do the things that are easy. Was why is it so hard to do the little things that would improve my life? And what I've come to realize, the way that our minds are designed is our minds are designed to stop you at all costs from doing anything that might hurt you.
But now let's make these notes now on setting goals. The promise of the future is an awesome force. We look back for experience, but we have to look forward now for inspiration. And what gives us inspiration to get up in the morning and do our job, learn skills, develop all that we can possibly be, is the promise of the future. And it can be so powerful that it can overwhelm any adversary you might have, any difficulties you might have. Here's a key phrase: reasons make the difference in how your life works out. Reasons make the difference in your appetite and zest for taking on the challenge, doing the job, becoming successful. Mr. Shoaff said, if you have enough reasons, you can do the most incredible things. You can get through the most difficult day. You can overcome the most unbelievable challenges if you have enough reasons. And so he said to me, if you haven't got a list of your goals, Mr. Rohn, it's probably because you don't have enough reasons. He said, I'm sure since I've met you, you have enough intelligence. And he said, you have enough good health. And he said, you have, you know, all of those things working for you. But here's what you must work on now is to have enough reasons. Looking into the future, developing reasons. Okay. Now here's a note to make. It's important to make sure that the greatest pull on your life is the pull of the future. Some people let the past pull them back, pull them back. The past can be like gravity if you let it to pull you back. Some people live in the past. They live in the darkness of the past. They live in the mistakes of the past. They live in the discouragement of the past. They didn't make it, and that affects them for the rest of their life, living in the past. So we don't want the past to pull us back, to live in the past. So make this note, dreams and goals can become magnets. Dreams and goals can become magnets. And the stronger the goal, the higher the purpose, the more powerful the objective, the stronger this magnet is that pulls you that direction. Now, not only does your goals and your objectives pull you that direction, here's what they also do. They pull you through. They pull you through all kinds of down days. They pull you through a difficult time. It'll pull you through some winter of your life. Some people get lost in the confusion of the day simply because their goal is not bright enough to pull them through. Next, it's goals that drive us to take advantage of the spring. Why would the farmer put the plow in the ground in the spring if he couldn't see the vision of the harvest when the summer is finished? Is it possible to see the finished harvest? And the answer is yes. We do that simply by faith. Key phrase, faith is the ability to see things that don't yet exist. So here's what we want to do in our goal setting session, is to start looking into the future of what you would like to accomplish, and where you would like to go, the person you would like to be, and see if you can't get a better picture of the finished objective. See yourself there, see yourself in possession of. For your dreams to greatly influence you, or the future to pull you, your future must be well planned. There are two ways to face the future. One is with apprehension, the other with anticipation. Guess how many people face the future with apprehension? Why? They don't have it well designed. And without really thinking about it, they have probably bought someone else's view of how to live. You will face the future with anticipation when you have planned a future you can get excited about, when you have designed your future results in advance. In this way, the future will capture your imagination. It will exert an enormous influence on you. And to design your future, you must have goals. Well-defined goals are like a magnet. They pull you in their direction. And the better you have defined them, the better you have described them, the harder you work on them, the stronger they pull. And they pull you through all kinds of difficulties too. Without goals, it is easy to let life deteriorate to the point where you're just making a living. It is not difficult to get trapped by economic necessity and settle for existence rather than substance. We all have a choice. We can either make a living or design a life. Now we're going to take some time to actually start designing the next 10 years of your life. We're going to start setting your goals. Goal setting is one of the most important skills to develop if you want to design your future. I'm going to give you enough homework not only to keep you busy for the rest of your life, but also to help you create the kind of life you may have always dreamed about living, but never believed possible. So let's get on with it. The sooner you exert the discipline, the sooner you will be enjoying the results. Once the results start to come, believe me, you won't mind the hard work and discipline it's going to take.
Credit goes to our awesome patrons who make videos like this one possible. Consider joining them to support our work. You can also support us by subscribing to our channel and clicking the bell button to get notified when our new videos are released. And as always, thank you for watching.
It's easy to say, but you have to understand this phrase well and rationalize it. Focus on yourself and not on others. This path in life, although it is a path that is done in a group, at the end of the day, it is lonely, so you must focus only on yourself and no one else. Because if at the same time you pay attention to the path of others, you will lose the focus of your own life, and then the problems will begin. Do you know when you will realize when you are doing things right? When people start talking about you, or criticizing areas of your life where they shouldn't get involved, speaking with envy or malice. That itself will give you the signal that you will be walking on the right path. We live in a society where envy is above supporting someone who is apparently doing well. What this generates is two things: that an envious person criticizes the other and does not focus on himself, and also that the criticized person loses self-esteem and motivation because of false criticism. There are so many talented people in this world who use their great intelligence to do negative things. Hundreds of millionaires using their resources for evil. You must be that type of person who makes the change for positive things. You must use all your potential to do good, and you will see that nothing bad or negative can happen to you in the future. Of course, the difficult moments will come, but in the same way you have to get up every day and fight with all your might. Because of your dreams and what you want to achieve, you know very well that it is worth doing. You yourself know all the effort it took to get here, and all the sacrifices you made for future good, so why give up right now? It makes no sense to leave everything for a bad moment. In life, you will have many moments like this, but the important thing is to take a deep breath, put your feet on the ground, and keep trying. I assure you that at the moment you least expect it, success will come, because the works of God are so mysterious. When we least expect it, miracles happen. The more you are like yourself, the less you are like someone else, which makes you unique. This phrase is beautiful. How many times have we wanted to be the person that others wanted from us? How many times, for not being weird or adapting to the norm, did we pretend that we were someone else? The most interesting thing about us is that we are unique, and both our physical appearance and our personality, the more different it is from the norm, and the more we get used to our true being, the more we will love each other. And you know what? People notice. So do not avoid it. Do not keep something so beautiful inside you and be yourself all the time. And ignore what others want from you, because they are not living your life. They do not know the difficulties you are going through. Be yourself, as there is nothing better than going your way without looking to the sides. Focus on what you want to do. When you have this in mind, you will know exactly what you want to do. When you know what you really need to focus on to achieve your dreams and long-term goals, there will be no one to stop you. Neither the envious people, nor the moments of depression, because you will be so focused on how you will be improving your life that there will be no time to cry or regret. You will feel the adrenaline that something good will be coming. And keep in mind, at the moment you succeed, who will be on your side and who will not, and who will come later to congratulate you when the same person wished you the worst. People will always stay when everything is good, but when the weak moments come, everyone runs. That is why those who stay with you, those who fight by your side day by day, and you can really call them friends, should always have those with you. This is important because although, as I have told you, the path of life is lonely, there are always people who are willing to give everything for you. Family, friends, colleagues. There are good people out there that God puts in your path, so don't miss out on that opportunity, and always remember, focus on your path, because if you do so, I assure you that you will be unstoppable.